Aarti from Swydo, and today we have with us social media expert and Brighton SEO speaker, Crystal Nyarko. Crystal, thank you so much for being with us today. And before we delve into the nitty-gritty for our audience, could you tell us what you do, where are you based?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Crystal. I'm the founder of Clear Narrative Media. We are a purpose-led media and marketing agency based in the UK.
All right, Crystal. So your topic is specifically aimed towards marketers just starting out. So what drew you to approach it that way?
I'm I'm very passionate about access and especially access into the industry. When I started, I didn't have a mentor per se or somebody to kind of guide me. And especially when you start out in the industry, it can be very overwhelming, especially because marketing is a very go, go, go type of space. So if you don't know how to do or you don't know what you're doing, you're just expected to know. So I thought this would be a perfect talk for anyone who's just starting out in the industry, who needs a bit of guidance and a bit of structure and a bit of clarity. Yeah.
That's very kind and generous of you. So, when you talk about a crystal clear social media plan, what does that actually look like for you in a day to day at your agency?
So for me, a crystal clear social media strategy stands on three pillars. So number one is your story. I'm all about what's your story, what's your narrative, who are you as a person, who are you as a business, who are you as a brand. And once you can identify your story, that helps you to navigate who your audience is and who you're speaking to. Many people don't have a story written up, but they know who they want to speak to. And sometimes it makes it hard to connect with the right audience if they can't tap into exactly who you are. So I always say, have a story, have a narrative, let people know who you are, what your core values are, what you stand for. And that also helps you to identify your voice, whether it's a business or a brand or a founder. Then that also helps you to identify who your audience is. It helps you to understand what they like, what they don't like, what their pain points are, what they're looking for, and how you can better assist them with their solution. And then finally, I like to say, have a goal, because many people tend to dissociate social media and business. They should go hand in hand. So your social media strategy or your overall marketing strategy should be aligned with your business goals. What is it that you're trying to achieve? Are you trying to make more money? Are you trying to build more visibility? Are you trying to gain more awareness? Are you what is it that you're trying to do? And then your social media strategy slash marketing strategy should assist that. So yeah.
When you say about brands should have a narrative or a story with your clients, how do you help them tap into it?
So I always say everybody has a story, regardless
Right.
of if you are a founder, regardless of if you are a business. There's a reason why you started what you started, and it's understanding the core fundamentals. So we have something at Clear Narrative Media called the 7 stars, and the 7 stars help you to write a perfect narrative, whether you're a founder or whether you're a business or a brand. By asking several questions helps you to formulate that story, but also connect with your audience. Everybody has a story. It's just how you write it, it's how you put it out there, it's how you craft it that will allow you to be able to connect with your audience properly.
Right. So, when it comes to new social media managers, what are some of the biggest hurdles that you think they face, and what's your go-to advice for overcoming them?
I think with social media managers who are up and coming, the two things that I find that can overwhelm them is number one, trends. Everybody is doing a trend. Every single day that you wake up, there's a new trend. And there's a lot of pressure from social media managers to either understand the trend and to do the trend and to incorporate it into their strategy, or to use it as a way to grow visibility and likes. And then the second thing that I've always found is that when I've spoken to social media managers or clients, brands, businesses themselves, everyone has this notion that social media can make you go viral. So I feel like a lot of the time, pressure is put onto the social media manager to create content that will go viral, as to creating content that will engage their audience, build loyalty, build some sort of tangible community. They Some people tend to focus on the wrong things. So I find a lot of the time that it brings a lot of pressure onto new social media managers and makes them feel overwhelmed. Yeah.
Right. And like you said, there are trends, there are so many platforms, with everyone saying be everywhere. How do you figure out which platforms are the best fit for a brand?
I don't say be everywhere. I always say be three places, because if you can do three platforms really well, you'll be able to succeed. Just as a mountain has a peak, I like to see the three platforms as the peak of the mountain that you're on top of. If you're able to establish yourself really well, so whether that's on LinkedIn, whether that's on TikTok, whether that's on Instagram, whether that's on X, whatever three platforms that you think is best suited for your content, best suited for your brand, your business, and either your products or your services, make sure that you maximize those platforms. And that also helps you not to be too overwhelmed, because what you do on LinkedIn per se, you can repurpose it and put it on Instagram, and you can repurpose it and make it into a TikTok or into a reel. So I always say have three main platforms, and then maximize and really amplify on those platforms.
Right. And when you talk about building a more clearer approach, how do you pinpoint who your audience really is, and what's the real secret of speaking directly with them?
So everybody is looking for something. So whether you're selling tech, whether you are a fashion brand, a makeup brand, a marketing brand, everybody is looking for something, and everybody has a pain point. I say that the perfect way to identify your audience is to identify their pain points. So if you are selling clothes, for example, and you realize that maybe plus size women or tall women have issues with finding the correct sizes for to wear in terms of clothing, that's their pain point. So once you kind of understand that, and if your brand tailors, or your business tailors to that, you're speaking to them, you know what they go through. So do some research first and foremost. Research what exactly are they going through, and pinpoint three things to really focus on, three pain points that you know that they have, and then speak to them with a solution for those pain points. So is it that you've got a larger range? Is it that you've got a taller range? Is it that you've got ranges that make curvier girls look great in clothes? Is like, what exactly is, your solution? Once you kind of understand their pain point, you present your solution to them in a way that is digestible, that is engaging, and that can lead them to want to buy in more into your brand or your business. Yeah.
Right. Keeping these thoughts in mind of what you just said, could you briefly walk me through your content planning process, and how do you keep it consistent and true to the brand's voice?
So how I usually plan content is usually based off of where the brand is. So you have three stages. You have the initial starting stage, and that could be between 1 to 5 years of a brand. You have the what I like to call the cool belt, which is between 5 till about 10 years. And then you have what I call the grand master, which is between 10 till about 15 years of a brand. So you first of all need to identify where exactly the brand, the business, the founder is at, like the stage that they're at. Once you know the stage that they're at, then you need to kind of assess what it is that they need. So, for example, you could be working with somebody who's between the first year to the fifth year. Between that year, a lot of the content should be awareness based, because people are still trying to understand the brand. They want to understand their values, what they do, who they are, who's on their team, what are some of the things that they do differently compared to other brands. So once you kind of understand the stage that they're at, then you look at what exactly their goals are. So is it to make more money? For example, this month the goal is to make £10,000. So if the goal is to make £10,000, how do you which products are you focusing on? Once you know which products you're focusing on, how do you speak to them in a way that is engaging? Is there trends that's happening? Do you need to educate them? How many people do you have as a loyal customer base? Do you have an email base? So once you've kind of understood that, then what I usually do is I do a 30-day content. So I break it down into educational pieces. I break it down into engagement pieces. I break it also down into sales pieces if that's their goal to really sell. What things, what videos, what pictures, what memories can really tap into getting those sales. And then the final piece is just a piece to keep them going. So, do you have a mailing list, for example, that people can subscribe to? Are you doing something differently for your customers, that you wouldn't usually do for everybody that consumes your content? So that's how I go about really planning content. Yeah.
Beautiful. So you're breaking them down into small chunks while still keeping it relevant and up to date for next
Yeah.
month. Like it runs like a
On a month to
well-oiled
month.
machine
Yeah,
on a month-to-month
exactly.
basis.
Exactly.
And when it comes to measuring the metrics for what's working and what's not working, what's your approach to that? And how do you really cut through the noise? Because there are so many vanity metrics also when it comes to social media, right?
Yeah. So one thing that really does help is understanding that sometimes the numbers don't lie. So looking at content that people have mostly engaged in. So for example, let's say an educational piece that you expected to do really well didn't do well. Um, Look at how many people engaged, and then see what you could do differently. I always say that even though numbers don't lie, a lot of people in this generation like to ghost. So they like to preview your content, but they don't want to engage because typically it takes about 7 touch points for someone to really engage in your content. So, what I would say is if it didn't do well, look at ways that you can kind of repurpose it. Also, using the analytic tools. So, every platform has that. So, whether you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, it will tell you how many people reached. In terms of the engagement, how many impressions you got, how many likes you got, and on platforms like LinkedIn, for example, you can also kind of break down um, who exactly in terms of like seniority. You can kind of also break down location. On TikTok as well, you can kind of break down which points in which they engage in the content. So you can kind of see where the engagement fell, and where people like to sustain their attention. So that's what I use for metrics. But I also like to test things out. I think testing is so important, especially if you're about to launch something. Test it out. It might not work the first time, but also understand that people consume content at different times. So, for example, in the morning between 6 a.m. to about 9 a.m., a lot of people are commuting to work. So, if you tend to post content around that time, it might get a lot of engagement. So you might have posted a content around 11 p.m. No, 11 a.m. It might have not been the fact that your content wasn't great, but it's because people are working, hence why they didn't consume the content that much. So it's understanding also the timings that you're posting and then reshuffling. So if you know that you get a lot of engagement between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., tend to post at that time. And that helps with kind of looking at the metrics, what works, what doesn't work, what's happening in the environment, in the industry. That also helps to measure the content.
Right. And do you like automate your reporting, or how are you bringing all the metrics together when it comes to sharing reports with clients and letting them know how their platforms are performing?
So I've created a template for each platform, and using the numbers. So for example, on LinkedIn, you can kind of look at the analytics for the month. You can see how many followers you had, how many percentage was up in terms of engagement. You can also kind of look at your top 10 best content, or your top 10, 20 content, depending on how many content you posted within the month. So I have specific templates for each platform that curate, and then I take the numbers from that and then put that into an analytical piece, and then send that over to the clients for them to have a look,
Oh.
so that they know what they're doing well
Hmm.
throughout the
Hmm.
months. Yeah.
Right. Brilliant. So, Crystal, could you share a success story with me about where you turned around a slow social channel into one that really delivered results and what really worked for you?
Yeah. So I'll share this one about 5 years ago. 5 years
Mhm.
ago, I worked for a real estate company, and although they were pushing out really like a lot of content, they didn't personify their content. So a lot of the
Mhm.
content was really like static and really boring. Um, and one trick that I used to really turn that around was to personify their content. So to personify the CEO, people who were working at the company, the type of content, using music and video to really uplift people and giving people like an insight into um the company. So, for example, the CEO would like drive into work, and we would capture content of him driving into work, but stopping to give maybe a motivational message for anyone who is up and coming within the industry, and some tips and tricks. And one thing that we found that that did was that people wanted to meet him, or wanted to learn from him and be mentored from him. And that meant that a lot of people who were trying to get into property or understand real estate wanted to have that personal time with him. So we really, really leveraged that. We used that as an opportunity for when he was in meetings or when he would go to viewings, to really have like a day in the life
Hmm.
type of experience. And from that as well, what we did was we had like a CEO hour, whereby we would invite followers who were on either LinkedIn or Instagram to win prizes, and then have the chance of having a one-to-one with him. And then they would come down, we would film that, we'd also get their insight why they were following. And that, we found that that really grew the platform, because over the past 6 years before I had joined the company, people just knew what they did, but they didn't really know what they did. And we understood that when we really personified the content, when we personified them going on trips and viewings, and having that kind of like one-to-one interaction with their community and with their audience, we saw that their platform went from like I think 100 at the time till about 4,000 very like
Wow.
quickly, because people were like engaging, people were getting advice on how to really join property depending on what they were doing in terms of development. They also had two projects that they were building, and what we did with the personification was that we brought people into the space that you wouldn't usually see. So we brought what's his name? We brought like a really big musician, a UK musician, into the space. We brought people from the finance sector, people from the tech sector, people from prop tech sector, and you wouldn't really see them in that space. So what that really did was it drew people who were interested in maybe property or learning about real estate, but from a different lens, from a fun lens, and not like a boring, here is a 25 square foot building. It was old, and it's a grade two building. If you want to know more contact, it was more of, no, these are the people that we're having within the space. These are the who they are, what they do, how they feel about being in the space. And it really gave that kind of FOMO effect, that
Hmm.
people wanted to come into the space and wanted to be part of the process of building and growing that space. So that really like generated a lot of interest, a lot of media interest as well. A lot of the local council and even the mayor of
Wow.
that place came down, and we had a
Hmm.
chat. because they saw what the space was like, and because we wanted people to understand that it's not just a boring space, it's a space where everybody's kind of welcome from different backgrounds. So that's one thing. Personification, make sure you
Hmm.
personify your social media, because people are consuming, people want to feel a part of something, people want to feel like they're there, people want to feel like they know you, or people want to feel like they're getting value from you. And if they feel like they're not getting value from you, they're not going to engage. And that was one strategy that we used to really engage and build their social media platform, but also the brand as a whole.
Yeah, that's a brilliant way of approaching it. Oftentimes, with small teams, I'm sure a lot of people also come across this thing where it's very difficult to convince founders or like team members to go out and put their face on social media. How do you navigate that?
Um, that does happen a lot, but at the end of the day, think about the bottom line. Like, they have this business to make money. If you're not making money, you don't have a business. And what social media allows you to do is really perpetuate, the business. So letting the founder or owner understand that this is helping their bottom line really does help, because if they're making more money and they're getting more engagement and they're in the news, that's great for them. That's great for if they want investment. That's great for if they want publicity. That's great for if they want more sales.
Mhm.
So number one, make them understand the bottom line. And number two, it's a way that it's a long, letting them buy into the long-term vision. So what they're doing isn't just for like the month or just for like, this quarter. It's something which is a long-term strategy. So by bringing them into that vision and letting them understand that is another way that they can buy into it. Because if they know that I'm going to be on social media and it's going to help my brand and it's going to help my authority and it's going to help me generate more money, they're more inclined to be a part of it than if you just tell them, oh, it's because of a trend or it's because we need to get more likes. They're less
Right,
likely to buy into that. Yeah.
right. Talking about trends and trends come and go. So, how do you keep up without letting them hijack your strategy? Because there's trend jacking, there's new jacking, there's every day, every week, there's a new trend coming on social media. So, how do you stay sane while not letting it hijack your strategy?
I think be selective about which trends you jump onto.
Hmm.
Um, for example, the Super Bowl just happened, and you saw a lot of people jumping onto the trends. Some brands who did really, really well and really engaged. Even people like me who are not their typical audience, I was really engaged in that because they were able to embed the trends in there. But other time it doesn't align, especially if it's for example, a song that they've used and you don't necessarily align with that song. I wouldn't jump onto
Hmm.
the trend. If you don't really understand the trend, I wouldn't jump on it. But in terms of not feeling overwhelmed, you need to understand what the bottom line is. It goes back to what the goal is and what the stage of the business, the brand is. Is it in its very infant stage where it needs awareness, or are you about to release, for example, a campaign and you need a bit of buzz so that when you release that campaign, the new people that you have will hook onto that? So is it part of a strategy which is going to help you with something else? I think you just really need to understand where you are positioned, either as a brand or a business, and how that
Hmm.
trend aligns to you. If it doesn't align, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't just do it because everybody's doing it. I think just be
Right.
selective. Just as you don't want to be seen as being everywhere and doing everything, because it comes
Hmm.
off as maybe cheap and a bit, not classy. Just be selective of your trends as well. Trends that align, great, fantastic, jump onto them. If they don't align, just don't do it.
Right. All right. Um, I have like a last rapid fire round. I do it with all my experts. So I have like a bunch of questions for you, and you have to like quickly give me an answer for it, okay? So,
Okay.
do you have a favorite content format or tactic that you think marketers often overlook?
Yes, commenting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
For small teams with a tight budget, what's your go-to advice for running impactful campaigns?
I would say figure out um, everybody's roles and then figure out a way to maximize what's missing. So, for example, if there's only three people on the team, figure out who can shoot content, write the content, schedule the content, and anything else that's kind of missing. See if you can do it together.
Brilliant. So, when a brand is just starting out, how do you suggest they build relationships that go deeper than just collecting likes?
Um, everybody, like I said, everybody has a story. So have your
Mhm.
story and can make sure that people can connect with that story. So if it's, for example, we're purpose led, we believe that founders are visionaries. We work with founders and not just businesses. So we go deeper than just come and be our client. It's more about the relationship and taking your vision to greater heights. So find something that is a common ground within your story and connect with
Right.
people like that because people buy into people. So yeah.
Mhm. If someone wants to level up their social media game right now, what's the very first step they should take?
Understand who you are, understand what you want, and understand where you need to get to and create a plan. Once you understand who you are, what you want, where you need to get to, you create a plan and then take action. That's how you really level up. If you don't understand who you are, you don't know where you're going. So it's really important that you understand who you are, whether it's a brand, a founder, a business owner, what you want. Is it money, awareness, traffic, sales, and then find out where you want to go and then just create a plan and do it.
Brilliant. In 2025, if you were allowed to use only two social media platforms, which
Yeah.
would be your top two
LinkedIn and TikTok.
and why?
LinkedIn, as a business owner and a founder, brings in 80% of my revenue. So
Right.
that works amazing for me. It allows me to connect with people, not just on a personal level, but on a professional level. And TikTok, because TikTok is a content platform and not a social media platform. So I love creating content and people love to binge content. So if you really want to get out there and you want to get people hooked, create a lot of content and put it on TikTok, and that's how you get them hooked.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Crystal,
You're
and these
welcome.
fantastic insights. You were super generous. And for our audience who want to connect with you and find you, where can they reach you?
You can find me on all social platform as Crystal Narco. That's CrystalNyarko. Yeah, so type that in and you'll be able to find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Yeah,
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Lovely.